Well, obviously, we're excited to be back home this week more than anything. It's tough starting on the road, but regardless of that, to be back in Nippert Stadium, obviously with the student body, the student section, city and the community is something for us. I think is really exciting. It's been a while. It's been quite a while, and so first game back at home is something that we've been kind of waiting for. Last week, obviously, was a tough loss on the road more than anything. But as we look at ourselves, and we know, we didn't play well enough to win a football game. We didn't play sound enough. We didn't play clean enough. Any of those three things could have been some of the biggest factors in losing, and especially on the road against obviously a good football team. So that's, you look at yourself first and foremost, and we kind of realized that from that one. But moving forward, the most important thing for us is we walked in on Sunday and, kind of say, hey, let's focus on these three things to make sure we learn and we grow. But first and foremost, humble ourselves. Regardless of what we thought we were going to do and where we thought we were going to be, and what you humble yourself to know you got to get better. I know I had to. So that was first and foremost. Then we had to challenge ourselves on how to move forward. Try to look back, say, okay, what maybe didn't we do well in our preparation to challenge ourselves to to make ourselves better. This is as coaches and as players, and then ultimately own it. What we see on film, that's who we are, and we got to own the fact that we didn't get the job done. We got to own the fact that this is our team, and we got to find the ways to move forward. So I think from those things, I think you can tell we wanted to make sure we focused on us and what was most important, whether it was the things we need to correct, the things we need to do, but most importantly, the things that we're going to do to move forward, to keep developing as a team and a program. You can always find a silver lining in things, and when you talk to the players, you definitely. I mean, first and foremost, the effort level, the physicality. Yeah, I am proud. I'm excited about the things that jump out that I put upon myself. That maybe in the preparation we weren't prepared for that moment at that time, which we weren't, and so there's definitely things to grow on. You have an expectation. There's no, I don't care what any predictions or anything like that. There's no, you don't win. There's nothing, that you're going to say, oh, we've got something, silver lining. But there are definitely things that we pride ourselves on that those guys did a really good job of. But we gotta find ways. That's the fortunate thing. We've found ways to win those games in really tough environments. Maybe even when you don't play well to start, but you get the corrections and you play best at the end of the game, and that's where we just didn't get it done.
Justin asked you Saturday about the younger and/or inexperienced guys and how they played. You said you wanted to watch the film first before you made a declaration. How did you think of that?
There's both. There's some that played really well, but I think that's where. My mistake would be we didn't play as sound and as clean as we needed to play, and that's in coaching more than anything, and in the preparation to how you do things. So young guys are they played hard, they're going to play hard, but when it comes down to the moment, it's playing sound, and I don't know that our tackling wasn't well defensively, and I can put that on me as I say, well, we didn't tackle much in fall camp. We didn't tackle enough in fall camp. We weren't as clean offensively, especially in the second half when we had things going and moving, and that's every bit as much on me and the things that maybe we didn't play at that tempo and those kinds of things in fall camp. And so, yes, they played hard. Yes, they're going to be really good football players, but you saw some of the youth come out in our team. So 13 of them defensively, and we had 11 on offense, which isn't bad. We missed a few that but the reality is, we gave up 40 I think last year, and 13 in one game is very noticeable. And it was leverage. It's just the fundamental things, and it was tackling. And obviously, you're going to have more of those. The better teams you play them. The quarterback's a really good football player. Wideouts are good. The running back. I mean, so I'm not saying that we didn't do it. Some things really, really well, and we tackled physically, But the bigger plays came with the fundamental things of of leveraging the football. And even when you miss tackles with leverage. If you miss tackles with leverage, then your effort overcomes all those things. And I think that's where we came up a little bit short.
You touched upon it a little bit there, but when you're playing a really good SEC team, some of your mistakes are really exposed. When you're playing a team that doesn't have the same amount of talent like Kennesaw State, how difficult is it for you to see if you're actually correcting things or if you're kind of getting away with them?
Well, I mean, you don't know till Saturday. I mean, you got to go back out there, and everything is about preparation. I mean, these guys are not 10-year NFL vets. This isn't the NFL. The whole thing, whether we got a young team or an older team. Last year we had a little older team. It was still about preparation. It was still, with exception to, maybe Dez and a few guys that had started for 4 years, the preparation is so critical. So, you recognize, you see those things. I think the first is to humble yourself, right? And then to challenge yourself to find ways, as coaches and individuals, to realize you got to get better. And that's what you do when you go out on a Tuesday and a Wednesday. And even for us on Sunday, we did a lot more on Sunday because our kids were willing to. And I'm not saying before they weren't, but, those were things that were glaring at them. And as you saw them go out there on a Sunday, even though they were beat up, you're like, okay, they are owning this, and they're challenging themselves, and they want to get better. So we did some more things, Sunday, and you'll keep doing them, but, you got to prove it.
Ultimately, do you feel it was good for you to have that level of game?
I mean, yeah, you're going to find the positive in it, and there's no doubt that the challenge you knew was in your face. And, I don't feel like we didn't step up to the challenge. I just don't feel like we executed the challenge that we needed to at the level that we needed to. So, yeah, there's a lot of really good things in that. But it's only good if you humble yourself. You recognize you need to challenge it, and ultimately you own it so that you see, okay, what we put out there is us. Whether it's a great quarterback that you missed a tackle on or a great running, it's still us. I don't care who that is against you. Kennesaw State's going to have guys that are really good too and really athletic. I mean, it doesn't matter. The reality is you got to own. You can't just say, well, yeah, it's because he's a great quarterback and he's a SEC, high-end. So what? So that's where I think most importantly you can't use any of those things as excuses or crutches, and I'd say that's what I think our guys believe that.
Do you feel like the offensive line performed, especially without Jake and not?
I thought they did a good job. I thought that we didn't have that solidarity, not just because Jake wasn't in there, but that's such a unique group that as you go through camp, I think most every year I've said, hey, in the first week of camp, we got to figure out who our starting five are so we can get them into position so they can work together. Some things change, but if you don't get them into the position where they can work together, I think it's really difficult. And not that Jake being, getting hurt on a Monday changed things up, but I think even through camp, we had a lot of guys rolling in and out and moving positions. It was Gavin and Metz and Dio, and so for the first game of them guys actually playing, I thought they played really well together. Obviously there's things we got to get a lot better at, physically and some stuff there, but communication-wise, I was really happy with where they are.
Talked a lot about replacing the corners this offseason. How do you think Threads did stepping in for?
Well, he's not a corner, but
We didn't talk about
okay. He did a really good job. I mean, there's one of those young guys that in that moment it was not too big for him. He played pretty well. Obviously, we all had mistakes, and there's what they did offensively challenged you a lot more, with just motions and tempos and speed. So it was one of those things where it was a difficult game for us defensively and for young guys in particular. But he definitely flashes. He's going to be really, really, really good. He's a big play guy. He tackled well. Obviously the last one is one that jumps out at you, but there's the number one play is, right before half, I know we don't stop him, but we get him down at the 5-yard line, and Threats is the far side of the field playing the quarterback and turns and run. I think GPS had him at 22 miles an hour, the fastest guy on the team for the whole day, and gets the guy out of bounds at the 5-yard line. You don't teach that.
How are you guys addressing the issue of helmets falling off?
We're going to put double-sided tape inside there, and we're going to stick them on their heads, and we're going to tighten our chin straps a little bit. That was something that was, kind of out of the blue for us. I don't know if you don't tackle as much in fall camp and you don't recognize those things, but it's probably a lot simpler than that. I think that you just can't get comfortable with playing a little bit looser with your helmet, and we got to strap them up a little bit tighter. And if that's the case, if they keep coming off, then we've probably got a bigger issue, and we got to dive in a little bit deeper. But I think just tightening them down, I would hope, is going to get the job done for us.
Ryan Montgomery left Saturday's contest with an injury. Do you have any update?
No, not just yet. I mean, he's got some rib issues, but it's still early in the week. He did not make it back into the game. It was significant enough that they couldn't get him back in. He didn't feel comfortable enough to do that. But we'll get him back. Whether he's able to go for this week or not, we won't know yet.
Ben played much better in the second half. Outside of the three things that you said you'll focus on, will you have any more conversations with him just to make sure he's more steady?
I mean, again, it's a process, and I think all those things that when you talk about playing, I don't just mean clean. Clean isn't just the penalties. Clean isn't just the false starts. Clean is getting into that rhythm with some tempo, and I think that's where even in the second half, I know when you're moving the ball, it's a lot easier to have rhythm and tempo, but I think that maybe we didn't do a good enough job of giving the offense an opportunity to play with a little bit more rhythm and tempo in the first half as we did in the second. But I thought he did a really good job. I think the thing that we have got out of it as much as anything is I believe we're a more mature team than what I would have given us credit for to start with. It was a tough first half. You go down 14-0 at halftime, and had that been last year's team, not saying we wouldn't, but I would have been curious as to how they would react and respond. They were very mature about what it was, willing and minds open to making the adjustments and things, and I think that's what showed when we came out the second half, not just offensively, defensively as well.
Thoughts on how Kiner played, stepping in for Mike?
Did a good job. That was one of those question marks. I had no real idea exactly how it was going to go. Again, you don't. That position in particular is, I think, the most difficult one when you don't know, because you don't tackle nearly as much. And so I thought he did a really good job. I thought he was physical. I thought he obviously took care of the football. He made a couple big plays. There's going to be a lot more obviously coming down the chute for him. But I think that process of growing and understanding everything, because we're not, it's a little more complex than it was maybe 4 years ago as far as what the tailback needs to do. And so that's a process that I think he'll do, but it's just going to take some more time.
Kicking issues again, but a new kicker.
What issues?
Kicking issues.
What issues?
They missed field goals.
Yeah.
What do you say?
They were kicked well. The first one, yeah, it's a short one, but even the 48 yards, he hits it off of the upright. I really look at it and say, is the ball kicked well? It's kicked really well, and little things here and there that we'll do a lot better job of. I feel better than I did last year. I know I'd come up here last year and say I'm confident in him, and he was, but we weren't going to kick that often. I don't think that we're anywhere in the same boat. I think we got a lot of confidence. Obviously, you've seen the range and the leg, but I do believe that there was a lot more consistency. Even the first one is bad, but the one that bounced off the upright, it's a really well kicked ball. A lot of those rhythm and tempo things are going to be better. And then the kick, obviously, he kicked off really well. And then obviously our punting, I think we had over a 45-yard net average, as well as 2 balls inside the 10-yard line. So the kicking game, I think, is going to be a strong suit for us.
The first one looked like they were angled to take the angle away. I mean, maybe he kicks the straightest field goal I've ever seen anybody kick.
I don't know that I evaluated quite as close as you did. It doesn't go through the upright, so it doesn't count. So we move on. I kind of look at the ball and see how it's. I can't tell him on his towardsers and things like that. I look at it, if it's the ball's in a great rotation, it's a minor little thing. Get it adjusted. You know what you're doing. But like I said, we're going to be just fine. I think we're going to be better than fine. We're going to have a lot of opportunities. We don't want to kick field goals down there. I think that's the ultimate for us. Is we're going to be in that dilemma where you got a guy that can kick the 48-yard field goal pretty consistently. On 4th and 2, what are you going to do? We want to score touchdowns, so we know we got to continue to be aggressive.
As a coach, how cool is it seeing Mason, speaking of kicking and punting, Mason reunite with his brother, his parents? It was a busy weekend, but getting to look back at it.
I don't know that I got to enjoy the moment quite maybe like they and their family did. I'm happy, really happy for them. I mean, to have a guy that hadn't seen his mother in 2 years, I mean, and then pretty special with his brother as well. So obviously a great family reunion for them, but that's about all I would get out of it, unfortunately. So no, but it's great for them. Obviously his parents will be in town again for this week to be here. So always good when those guys get those opportunities, especially guys that are, from as far away as he is.
From a triple option standpoint, how does Kennesaw compare to Navy?
I think obviously all of them are similar in ways, and they all are different in some ways. They would, statistically you would look at them and they throw the ball more than what a Navy has done or an Army has done when we've played them. So, they've only got one game under their belt from this year. Obviously last year they got a lot of games, 11-2, made a heck of a run in the playoffs. I don't think they shouldn't have gotten beat. I think got that last game, but they're going to obviously all triple option pose a lot of problems. We've got to be a little bit different than we ever have been. I think just to make sure we're sound in their ability to throw the football a little bit more. But nonetheless, it's always a very unique challenge, and it's not just everybody wants it's not just a challenge for the defense. It's a challenge for the offense because you got to play so complementary because they do limit the possessions that you get. So you got to make sure you're taking advantage of every one of those opportunities, whether it's offensively or even special teams wise.
You talked about throughout camp finding out what you had behind the starters on the defensive line. Were you pleased?
It was a great test. It was a great test. Dante did a really, really good job in there. We were kind of thrust into it that, I was kind of hoping maybe he would only be a guy that'd have to play 15 plays in the first few weeks because Dom Perry would be the other guy that could play 20, 25 plays, while Briggs plays maybe, 50% of the snaps. Obviously not having Dom threw a lot more onto Dante's plate. And I thought he did a good job. I thought all those guys. I thought Eric Phillips did a good job. I thought Justin Watley and Noah Potter. I mean, we played 7 guys, all with, I would say at least 15 reps. So it's going to continue to pay off for us in the long run.
And you're going to obviously ask a lot of them against triple option.
Same thing. Now you're playing with a few more of them on the field at times too, because by nature sometimes we play with 3. So it's always a unique challenge for those guys. But I think it's great for us. I mean, if we're going to pride ourselves on being a physical, tough football team, there's no greater challenge than playing the triple option, especially those guys up front.
So Jaheim at that kind of jack spot a lot. Was that a response, or did you plan that?
No, that we had that plan. I mean, Jaheim's another guy that we want to have on the football field as much as we possibly can. It wasn't a game that we thought was going to be a heavy dose of him playing there, but sometimes the personnel would dictate that as well. So moving forward, we'll continue to use him in some different ways.
What is it about him that allows him to shift from linebacker to maybe better?
I think it just his natural abilities. I mean, it's not something we want to take a guy and put him out of position and do. It's not like sometimes different positions, whether it's a dollar or a will linebacker, are different. But by nature, he can play up on the edge. He can be aggressive and he can rush. And where we don't rep him there nearly as much, when it's something that's really natural to a guy, we feel like it still gives us the best opportunity to play ball.
Was Ivan Pace as good on tape as he looked on television?
Ivan is very disruptive. He's a very instinctual football player. He was very productive. He made a lot of plays, and there's obviously things we got to get better at. There's some soundness of things that, for how we play and what it is we do, that puts a little bit more pressure on those guys because, little mistakes become catastrophic when you play as tight a coverage as we do. So, but no, he is very comfortable in what he's doing, which is, I'm not saying a surprise, but as a new guy in a system, in a game like that is not, normal, meaning there's so many motions and so many shifts and so many flies, and the tempo and pace of it that it didn't slow him down one bit, and that's a really good thing.
Seemed like first time starts Shep and Taj played pretty good.
It did. I think that's where some of the soundness that we got to get better at. I think Taj did a really good job. I thought Shep did a good job. He was, the challenge, they didn't take as many shots down the field, which we will get. The one they did, he was phenomenal on. There's just some of those things that maybe didn't get exposed that we still as coaches know that we got to be really sound in what we're doing. And that's some of those things I know we got to get better. That's where I'm going to challenge Shep that he's doing a really good job in some of the things, the base things that we're doing. How does he take his game to the next level? He's got to be him. That's who he is. But there's some of those other things that, especially being a guy that's in his 5th year, that we're going to continue to challenge him and for him to grow. But all the challenges that were thrown at him, he did a pretty darn good job, especially in an environment like that. Well, we in the past we didn't have a guy over there that could blitz very well. Somebody send that to him, will you? No, obviously it's kind of a little bit of the game, the way it was dictated to. But we probably brought a few more just because of the type of game it was. But it's not a bad thing for him as well.